evening of April 9th, 2023, unfortunately, was the beginning of the end for the Domler. Mr. Graham is correct. There were two separate groups there, right? There was a very large group of airmen from the Air Force. There's security forces, medics, one of them being Malcolm Santiago, who you will hear, when he arrived late, was the troublemaker. In the other group, there were four men. They all worked for Camping World, right? Two of the men were older. That's Tim Helton and Toby LaShane Wallace. Two of the men were in their early 20s. One was John Chester, who had been friends for years with Michael Lyon, Ross Johnson. Mr. Graham is correct. The evidence in this case is all on video. It's very simple. So if there's ever any question about anything that comes from this witness stand here, just ask them to roll the tape. Mr. Graham, roll tape. Is what he's saying accurate? You'll see that inside the bar, Coyote Ugly, a fight breaks out. Involved in the fight, of course, is Mr. Santiago. Involved in the fight is Toby LaShane Wallace, Timothy Helton, John Chester, and everybody else, that Air Force group. There's pushing and shoving, but the people who actually throw punches are the people that I mentioned, the people that get ejected. Bouncers break up the fight. Davon Larry puts John Chester in a control hold, right? Remember, he's security forces. Control hold. Doesn't even put his beard down. He's hanging on to him. Lets him go. John Chester walks away. Chester walks out unscathed. Malcolm Santiago had been fighting Toby LaShane Wallace, Timothy Helton. Not involved in the fiasco at all is Ross Johnson. You'll see him on video, right? He's walking out. He walks in from the patio where he's standing with the two girls. There's two blonde girls, both in black dresses. The only way you can tell them apart is one's got their hair up, one's got their hair down. He's standing out there with Malaya. But when he sees the fiasco inside, he walks up, puts his drink down, just casually strolls up, hands in his pockets. No intent to fight, just making sure his friend's okay. Everything's fine, under control. He walks back out. He walks back out to start engaging with these two girls. But his night is not going to go the way he thought it was. So John Chester gets ejected, Santiago gets ejected, Toby LaShane Wallace gets ejected. Watch. Watch as all 5 feet of John Chester walks out the door. Easy as a Sunday morning. Hands in his pocket, not caring anymore. Watch the actions of Malcolm Santiago. Goes to the front door, he stops. People are trying to hang on to him. He stops, he goes back, and he motions to his friends. You can't hear what's being said, but I think we understand what that means. And they follow him out the door. You'll hear that the reason Santiago was going out there to chase after John Chester was that he wanted clarification as to what the problem was. Can you speak into the mic? I can't hear you. He wanted clarification. You'll hear that he was trained to de-escalate, but man, you should see him work. Watch as his squad mate, Davon Larry, the deceased, dutifully follows him out. But when he does, he takes the Corona bottle in his hand at the exit, because you're not allowed to bring alcohol beverages outside. He empties it out. He grasps it. And he gets by security. And you'll see, as he clears the front door, he's got it by the neck. And that's how he's holding it. The scene that he's emptying the beer bottle out is directly in front of Ross, who's standing in the patio. And he's watching this. And his mind is taking this information in. The next thing you know, Timothy Hilton's coming up. He says, hey, look at your friend. Look at your friend, not mine. Look at your friend, John Chester, all 5 feet up, getting chumped by these guys.
Objection, Judge. Can you move the file?
Yes, sir.
Based upon the interaction between Timothy Hilton and Ross Johnson on the patio, Ross looks to his right and he sees his friend in the room. Reacts in a second. Drink down, vaults over the railing. As he's running to the altercation, he sees a gentleman also running towards the fight. Not walking, running towards the fight. He's identified this person as a member of the Air Force group. And yet, he takes him off the board. The state's going to say that he struck him. You have to watch the video. You don't see that, though. What you see is the two men intersecting. And you don't know if he strikes him. You don't know if he elbow checks him. You don't know if he shoulder checks him. You just see that Devon Larry goes down. He doesn't catch himself. But then Devon Larry was also drinking. The truth of the matter is this. It doesn't matter whether or not he was punched, pushed, checked. Because Ross Johnson is running to rescue his friend. He doesn't stop after the intersection with Mr. Larry. He runs straight to the fight where his friend is on the ground, Santiago is on top of him, and he pulls him off, and they begin to fight. Blow after blow, Santiago takes, right? He gets up 3 times. Mr. Johnson puts him down 3 times. And eventually says, I'm going to take you to your friends, walks him over in a headlock, and gives him the Air Force. You'll hear that the injury that Devon Larry suffered was a fracture at the back of his left side. There was also a fracture behind his forehead here. You're going to hear the medical examiner opine that this was caused by one single blow. But he has to also accept the possibility that that injury was from hitting the pavement and not him catching himself. All the information that you need in this case is on video, and that's why it's easy. Because there's one question that you have to answer. Knowing what he knew at the time, did Ross Allen Johnson have any justification in using force to protect his friends? And you're going to get two different instructions, one for non-deadly force or one for deadly force, because the amount of force used is a jury question for you to decide. Was Ross Allen Johnson entitled to use the amount of force he did to defend his smaller, weaker friend? Where the state that's going to make hay in this case is in the aftermath. Ross didn't wait all night at the scene. You'll hear how he was told to leave. You'll hear they spent the night in 2 days. But you're going to see on Officer Sastri's body cam a gentleman in a black shirt talking to the police. That gentleman in the black shirt is Ross Allen Johnson. Eventually, when the police get his cell phone number, they call him the next morning. They wake him up at the Castellano where he's staying with the girls in John Chester. At this point, he has zero clue as to the gravity of the situation, the dire straits that Mr. Larry went through before the play passed. And the state says that Toby Shane Wallace is going to say, I hit that guy, I think I killed him. But here's the problem with that statement. At the time that statement was made, Mr. Johnson was still on scene, right? To talk to Mr. Wallace. At that time, Mr. Larry was still alive. You're going to hear how Ross Allen Johnson comes in the next morning, gives a voluntary statement to the police, like, all right, I've got to pay the piper. I was in a fight last night. I'm going to go to jail. He's sitting there talking to 2 police officers, Lieutenant Anderson, Detective Latier. And again, he has zero clue as to what happened to Mr. Larry. You'll hear that repeatedly he asks, is he okay? I mean, this seems kind of heavy-handed for a fight. Is Devon Larry okay? Just tell me if he's okay, man. I'm starting to freak out here. You'll hear how the police, when they're sitting down and they're speaking with Mr. Johnson, like, well, you know, he's not good. Knowing full well he had already passed at 408 that night. Knowing full well he's not doing that good. At some point, they tell Ross that Devon Larry had died. And the shock that came over Ross Allen Johnson's face. What do you mean? The man starts crying. He couldn't accept it. What do you mean he's dead? You're going to be exposed to some autopsy photos. So I need you to steel yourselves mentally and physically. Unfortunately, none of the autopsy photos will show you what Devon Larry had intended with the pedophile, or when he was approaching the fight. We can't tell what his thoughts were. At the end of this trial, I'm going to ask you to choose the verdict that justice in this case demands. Not the one that the community demands from you or expects from you, but the one that is based upon the evidence itself and your own eyes and common sense. So remember, you were chosen as members of this jury based upon your training, your experience, things that you've experienced in life. And remember, if something sounds off, tell Mr. Grander on tape. Remember, the burden is on us. Thank you.
Ross Ellen Johnson's defense says he was not part of the original bar fight at Coyote Ugly and only stepped in after seeing his friend in danger. Prosecutors argue he used excessive force, while the defense claims he acted in self-defense during the chaotic confrontation that later led to Devin Larry's tragic death. Thanks for watching.